Gig Gab, episode 447 for Monday, September 16th, National Sit with a Stranger Day, 2024. Greetings, folks, and welcome to Gig Gab, the show by, for, and about working musicians. Our sponsor this week, of course, is Bandzoogle. We'll talk more about that in a little bit, but giggabpod gets you 15% off. We'll speak about that in a little bit. For now, here in Durham, New Hampshire, I'm Dave Hamilton, and with me today, our guest co-host, he is an absolute legend in the world of bass, has shared the stage and studio with some of the greatest names in music, icons like Joan Baez, Cyndi Lauper, Herbie Hancock, Randy Brecker, Mickey Hart, and even the Disney's Lion King. But you might know him most famously for his groundbreaking bass lines on Paul Simon's Graceland album. That's right, Bakithi Kumalo is with us today. Bakithi, thank you so much for taking time to talk with us today.
Thank you so much, Dave. It is an honor to have this day with you and the rest of everyone.
Yeah, the honor is mine and ours, my friend. Thank you so much. There's so many things we can talk about. I figure we might as well start at the beginning because this show is for working musicians. So I always tell people the conversations that are boring at cocktail parties are awesome here. This is kind of like the big green room where we all just kind of tell our stories and enjoy which it is that we all do. You just happen to do it at a very high level, and it's awesome. But you started at the age of 7 in South Africa, right? Subbing in your uncle's band, and you haven't stopped since. Is that right?
Yes. I was always saying that when I do interviews, I started at the age of 7. But now, as I think about it, I think I started when I was in my mom's belly because my father was a musician. I never met him. But as I was growing up, and then my uncle was in the picture because, my mom's brother played saxophone. So he kind of really walked me through to everything because he was playing every weekend. And every weekend, I always look forward to be home so I can see him and his friends and playing. They come to my grandmother's house and jam. And I just kind of love that. But even though the country was on fire because there was so much stuff, and as a baby, I mean, I didn't really understand. But as I'm growing, until I was about probably 10, 11, 12, then I started to feel the energy of what was going on.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I said to myself, don't lose focus. Just focus on the music that, you want to play music. It doesn't matter what you play, even if I play like a one-string guitar or, like something, stay with it. And for me, that was like the key of everything. But everything, it started really at home. Seeing all these traditional people every weekend, they dress up and they're singing the language and chanting, or sometimes they hit like the African drums. Some churches, they play the drums.
Yeah.
For me, it was like enough rhythm to put it in my heart and just love that, because really music, it starts with love. If you don't love, you want to do it because it shows. But for me, it was about For me, it was about to love this, and then the rest, work hard for it. And so I started with the traditional, and I hear they're singing, and for me, it was a lot of bass that they were singing that I could pick it up. And by the age of 12, I was now hitting the cities, the studios, recording with some traditional musicians from different part of South Africa, Lesotho and Zulus, and the producer knew me now. So they call me and I come and record with these people. And for me, it was not about money. It was about get in the loop,
Yeah.
and then eventually, and then you'll be a payoff,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
Right, right. Well,
And
yeah, just
and then the fact that it's a journey, I'm learning as I'm recording this traditional South African music at the early age. That really set up my stuff for now. Now I go to the studio, I'm not intimidated whether who I work with or for. I'm not intimidated because I'm used to the studio and I know my sound that I developed since I was 12, 13, 14 as I'm, going up. So I just stay with it and stay with in the studio, you perform and not waste time for other people. Sometimes sessions is like you come in, other people they want to come in and get out.
yeah, yeah.
You
Right.
can't be like struggling with a song and everything. So I just trained myself that stuff without going to school. And until the 80s, the big break, then that was a big challenge also. But I was ready for it.
Yeah, right. And I want to get to your big break, but I do. This is fascinating to me. So you really grew up. I mean, music was in your blood and in your bones, like you said, from before you were born. But you really did this and spent a lot of time in the just playing in the studio, out of the studio. Listening to you play, your style is your own. I am hesitant to use the word unique too often. However, I think it applies to you. And it's understandable why, because you've got these, there's clearly the South African influences in your playing, but there's also Western music influences in your playing. I mean, I hear a lot of Motown and soul music, and I hear one of my favorite musicians in the world. I hear Jocko in your playing a little bit. I hear all that stuff. How were you exposed to Western music as a kid, as you were growing up? Like, how did that get in there?
So that's a good question. And it's very interesting because as I was growing up, and the radio station was controlled by the system, and they wouldn't play much of African music, like Cameroon music, for an example, or Nigerian or Ghana, or
Yeah.
like neighbor music.
Yeah.
The only neighbor music for me was the cultures, because South Africa has a lot of cultures: Zulu, Shangaan, Xhosa, Tswana, Pedi, Ndebele, and everybody celebrate their whatever reason, with different types of music. So that was the foundation, the beginning of that. And then what also I had on the radios when they were playing like Motown, Temptations, and all this just dance music, that was huge in South Africa, because I would say the record company in South Africa and the radio station, they were paying the bills for probably England or wherever they got the music to play it for us, to listen to it. So for me, it was like there was a time where like from 2 o'clock to 3 or 3:30, there's like Motown, and I'm just glued to the radio, like the radio that used the berry,
Yeah.
the long berry, ever rate, and then you gotta wind it and fix the wire and all of that stuff. So I can hear the bass. Man, every time I look forward for that station and I listen to James Jamerson and just listen. Now I listen without having the bass in my hands because I didn't own one. And my uncle, when they were practicing at their house, he was playing the stand-up bass.
Yeah.
But at home, I didn't have the bass. So now every band in the township, they have the bass. So I will play whatever the bass, and then if I quit that band, go to another band, the bass. So I play the bass. But when I go home, I don't have anything to practice. But I never stopped there too. My practice was about get a piece of cardboard, cut it like a bass, and then use the Sharpie, make some strings, 4 strings, and frets, and then sing the bass line and kind of work on the fingering. And then when I get the real bass, it's a different adjustment. But I'm doing this on my own without being told what to do, because I just had a vision and like, okay, this is what I want to stay with it, because nothing good that's gonna just come right away and like, you play lottery, you put a lot of money to win the money.
Yeah,
You know?
right. You don't win the first time you play. Sometimes you never win. In fact, that's kind of how it's built. But
Yeah,
that's
but you don't quit because you want to win. So I wanted to win. I wanted to play this instrument that chose me to do it. I didn't choose the bass, but it just chose me. But then I'll play the card box, and then when I go home, get a gig with the band. Then I get a real bass, and the strings are like this high, and
yeah.
it's a little bit of a struggle. But I just kept going. I just kept going until 1972. My mother bought me a fretless.
Wow. How old were you when you got your first bass in 72?
When I got fretless, I was probably like 17 years old.
Okay. Oh, so you had been playing almost, I mean, not almost, you had been playing professionally long before you owned your own
I was
bass.
in the studios. I was doing recordings in the studio for professional musicians at the age of 12, 13.
Yeah.
They're getting paid because I didn't think that they pay. I was like, wow, this is cool. I can hear myself. I just wanted to hear myself on radios and boast to my friends, yeah, that's me playing bass. But there's no money. I was just doing it because I felt like, I'm playing a song that's popular and people are dancing. But so as I'm doing
somebody
this,
else should have bought you your first bass, but this is how things work out. Yeah.
well, my mother bought me one.
Yeah.
But
I mean, like, one of the studios probably should have bought you your first bass, looking back on it, because somebody was selling those records.
They had a bass.
Yeah.
They had a bass in the studio. That was in the studio. So I just play whatever. And then I started to replace other bass players now because I was consistent. I show up. Sometimes I'm standing outside in the studios and somebody's having problem upstairs. They call me. Call that guy. Is he there?
Yeah.
And then I show up and then play what's needed and just like really want to hear myself when I'm playing. And that also too, that was helping me to develop my tone, my fingering, how I'm playing the bass. I don't play like young people that they playing now. I mean, they're doing amazing stuff. They have so much speed, but I cannot understand anything they play. My thing is play the song.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
okay,
I was a
so
song bass player.
this is fascinating to me. You're blowing my mind here. There's a couple of things I want to unpack. So your cardboard bass, you were singing the bass lines that you saw your fingers playing. What an interesting way to learn an instrument, because you're hearing it melodically. You're approaching it from this standpoint of having the instrument sing, but it can't sing because it's a piece of cardboard. So it's you singing in place of the instrument. Wow.
Now, what I tell my student that they need lesson from me, I always tell them sing what you play, because if you're not singing, you don't know it. You're not connecting, because when you sing it, you're gonna have a feel. You're gonna feel different. When you're not singing, you just want to get through it, and you sacrifice a lot of things, your tone, and there's a part sometimes in a song where the bass it doesn't play the long sustained note to just like you adjust with it. You listen to the details. That's that was my thing. Like I just like the details, and then when I play with the band, I listen to what everybody's doing so that I don't get on somebody.
You get in the way. Yeah.
Yeah, especially like African music, the guitar is a lot, not much a keyboard. They never really used much a keyboard until now. But it was a guitar player, and the guitar player plays all these lines and plays all this stuff. So my thing is to stay with the pocket. And then when you hear a line from him, because you're listening, you take that line and make something out of it, and then the bass is going to change that whole thing, to be like, oh, wow, but it's been played by guitar player.
Right.
But for me, because it's the sound and the place where I put the notes or that line, it makes sense. So for me, it was all about thinking, not just playing the bass. I'm like thinking and I'm listening as I play. I can play simple the whole time, but when you hear the tone, it just drag you, because I'm playing so simple, but the tone is speaking, and that's the way I play.
No, that makes sense. And having developed your playing by singing, tone becomes fundamental to what you're doing. And that's as it should be, or as I would hope it would be for every instrument, but it's not always that way. Sometimes it's easy to get lost in the technique, especially early on, because that's what you're struggling with, is just getting your muscles and your fingers to do the things that they need to do. All right,
I tell you, when I was recording with Herbie Hancock, the Gershwin's World album, I was in the studio with him. First I was hiding. I was setting up in the corner because I didn't want him to see me, and I was so nervous to meet him and see him. And when he walks in, and he was like, "Where's the bass player setup?" And they're like, "He's over there." Man, he went there. He's like, "Come over here, come sit next to me." And the piano is open like this, and he's on the other side. And so we're playing the song. Man, and I hear his voice is like singing what he's playing. Man, I got into it, and I said, "Yeah, this is what I'm talking about." And I played the fretless, without reading because I didn't want to play, some, wrong notes or flat
Sure.
or sharps and everything. So I learned the song at home, and then play in the studio so I can have a feel when you go to certain section. I can, sneak in some little things here and there and focus on the tone. That's very important for me. And I did well on the record. He got a Grammy.
Yeah. I would say I would say that did well. That's a good way of putting it. When you're playing with you clearly you understand groove and like you have such a sense of that, and you can drive a groove all by yourself. I'm a drummer, so I always like to ask this question. When you're playing with a drummer, what's your favorite type of drummer to play with? What's something that you like to have a drummer do to lock in with you? What's something that a drummer can do that maybe doesn't lock in that you wouldn't want him to do? Do you have any thoughts on that? I'm guessing you probably do.
I don't talk to the drummer, but I listen for the first few notes the drummer is playing, and then I said, "Yeah, the pocket is good, so we can work on it." But now playing with the drummer that played the Graceland, this drummer we used to play together, like in the studio. Every time I'm doing a session, he was always there. So I knew him before the Graceland, and then when we got to Graceland, we already built up that relationship with him. Because, like I don't tell the drummer unless really he's driving me crazy, he's playing stuff that's,
Sure.
and I want to say, "Hey, listen, I think we should work together." Now, being on the road with Isaac for a long time, and Isaac left, my cousin also too is a drummer. So as we were kids, so we used to play together, and I used to sit on his bass drum, as we play. And then sometimes I'm slowing down because then I'm feeling like he's speeding up, and then he hits me with the stick. Like, "Hey, man, stay with me here." and so, and I just got used to it. And then with Steve Gadd, he used to call me all the time, "Bakithi, simple." And then I started to listen to him and listen to recordings that he has done so that I can be a better bass player for him when he plays, because he does some things that shows that that's him.
Yes.
And then sometimes he can play simple to let me do my thing. And so I kind of really adjusted to the drummer. If he is playing certain pocket, then I'm with him. I know how to divide things, probably stay with the hi-hats or stay with the bass drum, what he's doing with the bass drum, or maybe the two on the bass drum, not one.
Yep.
Like I play around without saying anything. And then the pocket matches, and then sometimes the drummer will say, "That's great, but add on this when I do the hi-hats, this on," and then we start planning.
Yeah.
With Steve for 20 years playing with Paul, I mean, like, we used to talk all the time. Sometimes, I listen to him and he'll suggest some things sitting next to him, and I always, it's Steve Gadd, he's one of the the greatest.
Yeah.
And so, like everybody, and I play with Anton Fig from the Dave Letterman band, and he's got some really energy. And then also being a South African, so we can, we work together with him. And, some sessions, I meet different people like Vinnie Colaiuta, just did a session with Vinnie.
Really?
And yeah, because we went on tour with Vinnie and Sting and Paul Simon. So we kind of hang out with Vinnie, and I'll go and listen to him. And sometimes the songs we play with Paul and Sting, I'm playing with Vinnie, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe I'm playing with a legend.
Yeah.
I try to play well too, when I play with him. And so for me, it's like really play to listen and sing what you play, and not lose that. I adjust with musicians as I go.
Yep.
So, and I don't know, I'm just doing this out of my head. It's not written anywhere. I can't read music, but I just have something that I can hold on. The pocket and the tone. Two things.
All right, folks, I want to take a minute and talk to you about our friends at Bandzoogle, your backstage pass to a killer website for your band, and our sponsor for this week. We've used Bandzoogle for my band Fling for years. In fact, it was so flexible, we evolved it into Fling Rocks Records, a multi-band site highlighting all of our projects that each of us work on, some together, some separately. Who says you can't rock a website like a tour schedule, right? Bandzoogle makes it ridiculously easy to build a stunning site in minutes. Need to sell merch, music, or tickets? They've got you covered. No commissions. Their tools for EPKs, smart links, and custom landing pages? They're like having your own digital roadie. And the mailing list tools? Perfect for keeping fans in the loop while you always be performing. Social media integrations are a breeze, and with their award-winning support team available 7 days a week, even your website won't miss a beat. Plans start at just $8.29 a month, including hosting and your own custom domain name. That's less than a post-gig burrito. Ready to take your band's online presence to the next level? Head to bandzoogle.com to try it free for 30 days and use promo code giggabpod to get 15% off the first year. That's bandzoogle.com, promo code giggabpod. Get your band's site performing as well as you do. And our thanks to Bandzoogle for sponsoring this episode. All right, let's talk about Graceland, because obviously that was a big shift in your career. It opened a lot of doors for you. Obviously, you had prepared yourself to be able to play at that level and were able to step into that and deliver what everyone was looking for, probably, and then some. That was life-changing. I mean, you went from playing in South Africa to playing all over the world, and I know that now you live in the United States. I assume that was sort of because of the doors that Graceland opened and all that. What was that like, getting in on those sessions at first? I mean, were you aware of who Paul Simon was and what this might mean, or was it just another session that somebody called you on for some guy from New York?
Yeah, so that session came during the struggle for me because 1974, I was stuck in Zululand, away from home, and my mother didn't even know where I was. And I was 14 years old. I joined the band, and we drive to Zululand to do some gigs, and then all of a sudden in the car, everything broke. And so now it's a struggle. I don't know how to write, and there's no telephone. I don't have a telephone to call my family. They don't have a phone either. So it was a struggle. So we looked for the mechanic in Zululand to help us to fix the car. The mechanic saw the instruments and saw musicians. He was like, "No, I can't fix your car, but I can run you guys around wherever you want to go. So I'm going to be your manager at this point. But your car, forget it." We were young.
Yeah.
And the driver was young too, and we kind of gave up, and we went with him. And he got us a house, and we stayed in a house. And it was a struggle, man, playing schools, hospitals, prisons. He's taking us to places like really deep in the Zulus that nobody has gone. So I went there, and man, I was so terrified every night because my mother doesn't know where I was. So we spent about 1 year, 6 months. I would say 16 months. I'm sorry, 16 months in Zululand, playing all different part of Zululand. And the music there, it's raw, man. It was for me. It was like, okay, from learning the stuff at home. Now I'm really in Zululand, and these are my people. You know, you don't see these people because they don't go to the cities. Now I'm, you know,
Yeah.
and the music was mind blowing, and then that 16 months didn't bother me that much because I had to connect with the local people and listen to them and try to figure out what they're doing, and just enjoy this music. One night, and I dreamt a bass player playing without seeing the head, and I just see the hands. He was playing this way, and me, I was playing with a thumb
Okay. Okay.
like this. Everything I was playing the bass like this, so it was a little struggle. But and I see this guy's playing, and then I woke up the next morning
Playing with his fingers instead of just
playing
his
with his
thumb.
fingers.
Yeah. Okay.
I woke up the next day, and I remember the dream, and I try. It was like a struggle for a couple of hours, but then I find ways of like walk with your finger. Once I started to walk and resting on the. Now the bass that I play now had a thing where you rest your thumb, so your hand just stay in one place.
Sure.
I did that for a while, and until like I can move my thumb to sit on the lower string, and I tried that while we're struggling until I decided to run away from from Zululand now to go back home, and I go on the street and ask for a ride, and finally somebody stopped me and the drummer. We were tired of staying there, so we just left the other band members. We took off, we went to Johannesburg, back home. The guy took us, dropped us in Johannesburg. My mother, she thought I was dead, and she refused that I was the son, and my hair was like this for 16 months, and chicken pox. I looked so terrible, like I just came back from a garbage can,
Wow. So this
and
mechanic slash manager, I mean, essentially just took you and almost against your will to go play music elsewhere. That's crazy.
yeah, and then the place is it's so dangerous that a lot of things could have happened,
Yeah.
but we trusted him, and then we just enjoying playing all these people without seeing the money, but
Yeah.
just playing for safety. And but for me, I took that music and I said, I'm gonna carry this gift because you don't just hear this music, but this is my gift that's gonna stay in my heart. And I moved back to Johannesburg, and then a few months later, I got sessions to do sessions, with the traditional. So I'm informed now with the music. So I'm just recording with a bunch of people and just doing my thing for I think for a year or two, and then I ran away. I went to Zimbabwe and I joined another band to go to Zimbabwe in 1982. And we got stuck in Zimbabwe too. And Zimbabwe, it was like America because everything was 24 hours, like restaurants, the bars, the music, the people, like it was crazy. Nobody was running away from the cops like in South Africa. Everything was so intense. So in Zimbabwe, it was amazing. So we spent 8 months in Zimbabwe, and it was nice the couple of months, but also the frustration started build up because it's like, man, I don't understand the language, but the musicians are nice. We're speaking broken English, and we're communicating in a way, but this is not my home.
Yeah. Right.
After 8 months, the guy, a producer who produced the group Ladysmith Black Mambazo, came to Zimbabwe and he saw me. He went to a club where we were playing and he saw me. He was like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And I said, "Yeah, we came here. We stuck." He says, "No, I'm gonna get you on the plane. We need you to come to the studio in South Africa, in Johannesburg." The guy put me on the plane. I came back home. I left all my friends. I just took off and I
Yeah.
didn't even tell them. I just left because also too in Zimbabwe before they just won their independent, and so it kind of got very scary because as a band from South Africa, the Zimbabwean comrades, soldiers, wanted us to go with them and play some gigs for free so that they get a crowd
Sure.
to sell meat or whatever. It got very complicated.
Oh, interesting. They used music to bring people in to then sell them other things. It's fascinating.
Yes, because they just want their independence. So it's a party for them, and they got all this. They have to sell something. They have to talk to the people and celebrate. But for us, we were not part of that. But because we were South African, they wanted to use us because we were popular, not to use the local band, but use the international bands because we were playing American music and all of that stuff. So the guy got me on a plane. I got on a plane straight to the studio and record with the traditional, again, another group from Lesotho, and that's when a good thing started because the producer that was producing the song "Boy in the Bubble," the traditional original.
Yes.
He's the guy who called me for the Paul Simon thing in the studio. He said, "There's a guy from America. His name is Paul Simon. He's looking." No, first, I'm sorry. First, now when I came back from Zimbabwe, did a couple of sessions, but then my mother started to get sick in the township.
Oh.
No, I forgot about this. She started to get sick, and then I kind of slowed down with the music, and I looked for the job so I can be able to get some medicine for her. And as I was working for this guy who I was carrying my bass when I was looking for the job, and he saw me with the bass. He was carrying his gun, and I went to him and I said, "Excuse me, sir. My mother, she's sick, and I'm looking for a job. I'm a musician. I play the instrument," and I showed him the bass. He saw that, and he felt my spirit. He hired me. After he hired me, so as we were working, he sent me to get wrench, get this.
Sure.
I didn't even know the names of these things because I'm not a mechanic.
Right.
So he says wrench, then I don't want to tell him I don't know what wrench, and then I go bring screwdriver or something, and he says no wrench, and then he'll draw a wrench with a pen, and I'm like, oh, it looks like that. Then I go get a hammer or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
Wrench. So and then, because I always told people now I have a job, so in case they need me for recording, that's my contact. They called the job. They called the job. They said, Paul Simon, he's in town. And I'm like, who's Paul Simon? I'm shaking and I'm dropping things because to hear English name in South Africa, from the township, there must be a problem or something. So I'm scared to death. And the guy's like, no, Paul Simon. And he's singing the song, Sounds of Silence. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, we don't listen to that in the village,
Yeah, right.
I don't know the guy. And then he says, the reggae mother and child reunion. And I'm like, oh, wow, from way from Jamaica. It says, yeah, Jamaica Queens. I'm like, oh, wow.
That's a different Jamaica.
Yeah, so I'm thinking Jamaica, mother and child. And I said, he's a Rasta, because I never see really the picture of the record. I said, he's a Rasta. I love the music. He says, no, he's not a Rasta. He's from Jamaica, Queens, New York. I'm like, what?
He's about the most opposite of a Rasta you could find, I think.
Man, the guy gave me the money to take a bus instead of the train because the train is crowded and I have a base without a case. And I took the money. I said, I'll see you when I get back. And when I go to the studio, it was like, wow, this is amazing. They got us food. This dude, it was like a game changer. And I said, man, this is going to be amazing. And I'm nervous. Already, Paul, they gave him the songs, the traditional songs that he liked, like, Boy in the Bible, Lady Smith, Black Mambas, and some Zulu stuff. And and I relaxed a little bit, but man, I looked so terrible. Greasy hands, the fretless, no case, and Paul bought me a Fender, in South Africa, and then we started recording, and man, he loved everything I played, and that's when I knew that something good is about to happen here. I have to stay consistent and not overdo it and not be nervous. Now I'm talking to myself because I don't have the manager or anybody to say, calm down, dude, or
Yeah.
play more. So everything it's on me, and I'm not talking to Paul because I couldn't speak English then. He was talking to the producer, and then the producer, he'll talk to me, and then, okay, tell him to play a little bit less. I like what he's doing, blah, blah, blah. And then he'll translate back and forth, back and forth. And I did that. And at the end of that session, now I got paid. I can take care of my mother.
Yeah.
Eventually, she passed away when we were getting ready to come to the States and do more tracks. And she left. But when she left, I was ready to take care of her and say, this is my final say goodbye to you, and we will see you again somewhere at some point.
Yeah.
And then I took off. Came to New York, record with Paul. Then after that, came back home.
Amazing.
I was ready to go, and the journey, everything started kicking now. Like, wait a minute, all that stuff that I worked from the beginning to now, without YouTube, without seeing anybody. Now I'm in New York City, the biggest city on the planet. This is not joke. This is not joke. And then I got more very serious to practice every day. I would stay in my hotel room, practicing, playing the same songs. Like now, we recorded Call Me Out. I got to learn how to play before the tour starts. And I'm preparing myself. By the time
well,
the
that's
tour
right, because
starts,
you needed to learn more than just you recorded on the record. You needed to play a show. Yeah.
Right, because in the studio too, they're doing some other things that I need to stay. I need to stay ahead and know what's going on so that I'm not struggling. Another bass player takes over my gig.
Yeah, you don't want that. No. You got. Yeah, that's right.
No, I stay with it, and man, I tell you everything. Like what I did in South Africa, and I did it here, and I completed my 60 something, 30 something years in South Africa, 30 something years in America, doing the same thing I did in South Africa for fit and then half year. And I'm still doing this, and I got $2, finished college now.
Amazing.
They moved out, finishing, doing their own thing. And I'm like, man, I did everything. Now what next to do? I'm looking for a gig. If anybody. I can play. I can still play.
You could still play. I believe it. Yeah. And you do still play occasionally with your Graceland Experience thing. That comes up every now and then, right? Where you do that?
Yeah, I'm doing that because this is what got me this way here. Maybe people, they might not really understanding why I'm doing this. This record got me here. The fact that I played with my all heart. And now coming here and watch all these amazing musicians sit down and listen to this record and write down everything and ask me to play with them. This group from Philadelphia, they're amazing musicians. They're music teachers. So when they called me to do the Graceland with them, I said, man, let's do it. Because this music, I love this music. This music saved my life. And there's a lot of musicians who are now gone from that record. But I'm here to represent their stories, to talk about them, the journey that I took with them, and share with the rest of the world. And now I'm working with a bunch of kids, do music mentors, because I stay with music and I educate the young people so that they don't get stuck when they get to the point where they need to move forward. So I tell them my story in order to play the instrument, to play with a purpose. Have a story to play your instrument, not just play and go to bars and drinking and take drugs. No, have a story. And these kids, they get it. So for me, it's what God asked me to do, and God sent me to enjoy this. It's not about money. I wish I can make money from music, but it's not working like that.
Yeah.
But I'm pleased with what I've done and I've created.
Absolutely. And like you said, you're still playing. Now I like to nerd out on this show because I know you are a fan of wearing in-ear monitors. We always talk about in-ear monitors on the show. So I'm curious, when you're, and everybody's different on this, and we love to nerd out about this. So I'm curious, when you're setting up your ears, well, what do you wear first of all, but then What's your perfect mix when you're on stage in your ears? What do you go for, and how do you get that set up?
Listen, when I talk to Queen Akora and I talk to Janine, and they hooked me up and they got my custom made, it was amazing. I had a South African.
This is from Ultimate Ears. What do you know what model you play?
Oh, you got me on this one.
Okay, that's all right.
Yeah, they custom made mine. They did all the molding and everything, and I picked the color. So the color was a South African flag and American flag on the right ear. Because I came from that way and I'm going that way. So but on stage it was unbelievable. Because I was depending on the monitors, or sometimes they give us these little ears that they really don't have the sound. The bass, just everything was just unbelievable. I mean, I just miss them, because after the tour they pack everything and I never saw them again, and I want to get another pair. But they're the best in business. That was my first time using Ultimate Ears, and game changer.
Yeah, it really is a game. Did you have trouble? Some musicians have trouble adapting from having monitor wedges to having in-ears. Did you have any trouble adapting, or was it what you were looking for?
I didn't have any trouble at all. I didn't have any trouble, because it was like really perfect fit. But then I have my own mix to lower the volume and then go up as you need it.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed it, man. It was amazing. I was wearing on the plane. I just everywhere, just.
That's great.
Amazing. Unbelievable. I got to call them to get more, because I don't have any more.
Do you, when you're setting your mix on stage, do you like to hear all the instruments? Is there something you like? Obviously.
No, there was things that I liked. I wanted to hear, like a kick, a small kick and a hi-hat, and then hear Paul's vocal and the guitar, and then some keyboards. Everything's balanced, because I had my, bass tech who get all the mixes that I want.
Yeah.
And but most hearing Paul's vocals, and then the bands, whoever is singing, I can hear those vocals clear without any problem.
Yep.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Hearing my bass sounding exactly the same what comes from the amp, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, that consistency is part of the key.
Consistent.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you when you're on stage, do you like any reverb in your ears, or do you like the signal dry?
Just signal dry.
Yeah, interesting. Huh.
Especially for Paul stuff, because there's so much going on, So having a reverb, you have percussion players, you have like 3 guitar players, like it's just too much, So
that makes sense.
I wanted to keep it dry, Yeah. But when I do my own thing, and I'll be right there, just finishing it. My family.
Of course. Yeah.
They want me. I gotta take my daughter to.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I think it's great. No, and that makes sense. With that much going on, I can see where reverb would just create a too much of a wash that you can't.
Yeah, it's like swimming. I just want to hear clean, like the way Paul's voice sounds.
Yeah.
And like everything, my bass is, everything. It's clear. Then when I put the compressor or reverb on my bass, it's good. I can hear it.
You hear it. Yeah. That's great. Well, I know that you have to attend to your daughter, and your daughter is far more important than those of us here at Gig Gab. So
she just came from Virginia, and we don't get a chance to see each other much.
Oh, amazing!
And she's going for a wedding this weekend, so I have to take it to drop at the hotel.
Amazing! All right, well,
I'm a dad, without playing the bass now. I do the dad family thing.
I am a dad too, and my daughter lives on the other side of the world. So if she were here, I would also say goodbye. So I'm gonna say goodbye. People can find you at Bakithi Kumalo Bass. I will put a link to that in the show notes. Is that a good place for people to follow you?
.com, yeah. Well, I'm still working on fixing my website, but yes, they can reach out there.
All right. We always like to say one thing on this show, and that is always be performing. Bakithi, thank you for performing with us here and chatting. It's been amazing. And folks, follow Gig Gab at Gig Gab Podcast, and we'll see you next time.